Hi everybody, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we show you old 16mm films and then try to figure out why OBS is dropping frames. Not really 100% sure what was going on there, but yeah, so that was home movie footage, kind of vacationing, and then they end up at the New York World's Fair, 1964. Some of those sites might look familiar to you if you have driven through that area, or if you saw Men in Black, or many of the sponsored films that came out around that time. It's a very well documented World's Fair, and it's kind of cool. All the pavilions also really kind of awesome. All right, we're gonna get things started off on a down note. This film is about divorce. I am a product of a divorced couple, as are, it seems like, most of my friends. Yeah, so let's see if this film, if I had seen this as a kid, if it would have helped lessen the blow. Here's Divorce, and I believe it's a Centron film. Enjoy.
I don't want to discuss it anymore.
I never can talk to you. You just turn me off. Just like a faucet. You just turn me off.
That's not true.
Never listen to reason.
I wanted this marriage to work as much as you. We're not going to change each other. Something's got to give.
Well, it's not going to be me. It's up to you to try for a change.
Try? Helene, I've tried till I'm blue in the face. I've had it up to here. I can't take any more.
You are impossible.
Helene, believe me, I'd give anything if things could be different.
Who is it? Me, Bobby. You're at it again. I know. Kathy, are you worried? Yeah. What is it, you suppose?
Mother's been crying a lot, I can tell.
Do you think it's something we did?
Of course not.
Well, my report card's pretty crummy.
Don't be silly.
Well, if you know so much better, what is it?
The children are already upset. Even knowing nothing, they're upset. Kathy started asking questions. Christine sucking her thumb again, and last night she wet the bed.
Listen, Helene, I don't think it's fair to blame me for all the problems that the children are having. Your impossible attitude's got a lot to do with it, too, you know. That's why I think things will be better once I've gone.
Couldn't you try just a little to get...
Let's not rehash that again. We've been at this for months. There's no other solution. Going on like this is killing us both.
Have a nice day, darling. Hurry up, Christine. It's time for the bus.
I don't want to go to school.
Oh, no nonsense. Of course you do.
You're not mad at me, Mommy. You know, because...
No, Mom's not mad. Now, run for the bus.
Kathy, I know you're worried. Your mother and I are having problems. But I want you to know that no matter what happens, I love you. I love all you kids.
Eleanor? Helene. Sorry to bother you this early in the morning. Kids gone? Yeah, mine too. It happened, Eleanor, last night. He asked for a divorce. After 14 years of marriage and 3 children, he's asked for a divorce. Oh, Eleanor, oh, yes. Yes, I know. I've thought of divorce myself many times. But it's not the same thing as this. I know I'm not being rational. But when he said it so cold, so final, you know, he just wouldn't make it work. He just wouldn't try. He never could see anybody else's point of view.
Your mother and I have something very serious to tell you. Something that affects all of us that we have to face with courage and understanding. Your mother and I haven't been getting along too well lately. We're both very unhappy, and that makes it unhappy for all of us. We thought that if we separated for a while, and that is if I went somewhere else to live, that things would be better around here.
You mean you're going to get divorced? Oh, no, they can't.
Your mother and I have to find ourselves. I know it's difficult for you to understand.
What's wrong? Explain it. We understand more than you think. If you go away, where do we go? What happens to us?
You stay right here, of course. I'm not abandoning you or my responsibilities. I'm still your father.
Is Daddy going away?
Don't cry, Christine.
Why? Why is Daddy going away?
I think it's disgusting. A family is supposed to be a family. You're just like the parents of half the kids at school. And I thought you were different, better. Suppose Daddy's got a girlfriend he's going to...
Kathy, you mustn't talk to your father like that.
I mustn't do this and I mustn't do that. Well, you mustn't get a divorce, so there.
I feel sick. Right, Mommy? I'm frightened. He's taking his tennis racket.
Natch.
Why do you say Natch?
He's leaving, isn't he? Why wouldn't he be taking his tennis racket?
I don't know. He hits with me down at the court. Now.
Well, bye for now, darling, but Daddy will see you soon. You remember you're Daddy's little girl, okay?
I want to go with you.
No, not now. I've got to move into my place and get settled. But you can come later, and often.
I don't see why they had to do it. Do you?
Do I what?
See why they had to do it?
It's their problem. I have my own life to lead.
Bye, Dad. Bye, Daddy.
You're getting to be such a big girl.
Am I too heavy?
Almost. Not quite. Bobby, look in Graham's tote bag. I brought you some of your favorite chocolate chip cookies.
She was up until 10 o'clock last night making them.
Can I have one now?
Why don't you children take them out to the kitchen? Mother wouldn't want crumbs all over the living room. Helene, dear, you look very tired.
Well, I haven't been sleeping very well.
That's natural. Helene sides.
Thank you.
But the children, after all, they're our only grandchildren.
I understand all that. They need you now more than ever. I would never come between you and the children.
I couldn't bear it. I just don't understand things today. People getting divorced at the drop of a hat. Families breaking up.
Now, Mary...
I gave Alan a piece of my mind, I can assure you. He says that I don't understand. And I don't.
That's Daddy's chair.
So what? Put it back. Why?
Well, because...
Look, you kids, you're gonna have to face up to reality. Daddy's gone. He doesn't live here anymore. He and Mom have split. So why leave his chair at the table?
I hate you, Kathy Miller. I hate you.
Well, I'm sorry to bother you, Mrs. Faley, but have you heard from Alan's lawyer? Not yet. What are they for? It's all so aggravating. I mean, how can I make any plans?
Mom!
Hush, Bobby. I'm on the telephone to the lawyer. Excuse me. Look, you know I'm willing to settle for the child support they're offering, although heaven knows it's little enough. But I want the visiting rights spelled out on paper. I don't want to leave that vague and undefined. And another thing, you know, every time Alan needs something for his apartment, he comes to the house and removes it. Is it all right if I have the locks changed? I mean, just the other day, he took my electric frying pan without so much as a by your leave.
She thinks everything in that house is hers. As a matter of fact, 9/10 of the wedding presents came from my side of the family.
Those are minor details to negotiate. The main points are reasonable child support, property settlement on the house, and visitation rights, which you and those children can live with.
I want to do what's right by my kids. You know that.
Sure.
I'm perfectly willing to continue, paying the medical insurance, and I'll take care of college when the time comes, and I'll do what I can now. But you can't get blood from a stone. I can only give what I can give. Now, granted, Helene's been very fair about finances. But why does she want to fight me on the visitation rights? I mean, pinpointing a certain day each week that I can see the kids. It's all so artificial. It's bad for me, and it's bad for the kids.
Children are asleep. Christine's got her thumb in her mouth. I thought we broke her of the habit. Homework all done? You really do need a new spread. We'll have to see about that. That is,
If we can afford it. Isn't Daddy giving you enough money?
well, he had to cut back again. 2 households. It's very expensive. He has to eat out. You know, he was never great shakes in the kitchen.
Surely his mother's taken a job.
I'll have to do that, too. I've been looking, but... well, it's not easy. Not when you're not trained for anything special. I'm so exhausted all the time. Every time I call a lawyer, I get so upset. So many important things we have to agree about. Child support, visiting rights, they make it all so difficult. I don't know why they can't do everything sensibly.
People don't live their lives sensibly.
Kathy, dear, I feel such reproach from you. So much pent-up anger.
What am I supposed to do? Scream with joy because you and Dad have loused everything up?
I didn't do it on purpose.
I know the kids ask you this all the time. But seriously, is there a chance of you and Dad getting back together?
I wish there were. But please, you must understand that this is not a step your father and I took lightly. It probably seems sudden to you children and to me too, but it was a long time in coming. I read someplace that a divorce is somehow like a death in the family. It takes a time of mourning to get over it.
I'll have the final judgment in the mail to you tomorrow, Helene.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for everything.
If there's anything I can do, please let me know. I'm here to help.
Is this really the end?
Oh, Helene, if only things could have been different.
So again, that's by Louise Floater? I don't know. Anyway, so she did It's Up to Lori that we saw, I think, earlier this week. She did The Day I Died, which is about the guy narrating how he died, and also All My Tomorrows. So the hits keep on coming. And I mean the psychic emotional hits. Yeah, I mean, that's, if you've never had a divorce before, that's or your parents divorced before, that's what it looks like when you're a kid. So does it offer anything beyond, like, this is what's happening? I don't know. Does that offer any anything that helps a kid out? I don't know, because I don't think there's any easy answers for that. So let's shift it up a little bit and go to a dairy farm. Enjoy.
Almost everywhere throughout the land, wherever feed crops can be raised or readily purchased, dairy cattle are found. Even in regions of the country where grass is scarce and water precious. For milk and milk products, are part of the daily diet of almost every American. But some sections of the country are better suited to dairy farming than others. In areas where there is rolling farmland, best suited for pasture and hay, where transportation to large city markets is fast and economical, you are likely to find intensive dairy farming. More than 75% of America's dairy cattle are concentrated in a belt that stretches across the eastern half of the nation, in a region where the growing season is too short to produce more profitable cash crops. For more than half a century, dairy farming has been a major occupation in the upper western section of this belt. Although dairying methods vary from place to place, a farm in the dairy belt reflects many of the problems of the entire dairy industry. Most dairy farms today are owned and operated by a single family. Together, a father, his sons, and occasional hired help tend the cows and work the fields. But recently, a new kind of farm has appeared. A push-button farm, where one or two men, together with a sizable investment in modern machinery, do the work efficiently and profitably. This highly mechanized type of farm is part of a revolution that is occurring in the dairy industry. More than 360 acres of land and a herd of 86 cows. These are the property of the Lawrence Hartman farm. Before him, Lawrence Hartman's father and grandfather owned and worked the same land. The Hartman dairy farm is modern. Tractors and trucks, harvesters, plows and planters help Lawrence and his father do most of the field work themselves, efficiently and profitably. To reduce his expenses, a dairy farmer must grow as much of the cow's feed on his land as possible. The Hartmans use modern methods like contour farming, planting crops in a pattern that cuts across the slope of the land. This prevents rain from washing both crops and topsoil away and makes every square foot of the fields productive. The work on a dairy farm varies from season to season, but one daily chore is the same throughout the year. Rain or shine, winter and summer, holidays and Sundays, the cows must be milked twice a day. Milking time is feeding time. Before the cows come into the barn for milking, set out hay, silage, and grain. In the milk house close to the barn, Mr. Hartman Sr. prepares the milking machines. The cows of this herd are called Brown Swiss. Other well-known dairy breeds are Holstein, Guernsey, Ayrshire, and Jersey cows. Each breed produces a special quality or quantity of milk. Cleanliness is a major concern of every dairyman. To prevent germs from getting into the milk, the cow's udders are washed with a disinfectant. Then the cups of the milking machines are washed in an antiseptic solution before they are attached to the cow. When Lawrence Hartman's father began dairying, each cow was milked by hand. Today, with modern equipment, the Hartmans are able to clean, feed, and milk more than 80 cows in less than 2 hours. To produce milk, a cow must first bear a calf. And there are always young calves on the Hartman farm, a new generation to add to the herd. There's a new generation of Hartmans on the farm, too. Brian and Rhonda are too young to do heavy work, but they are learning some of the chores that keep their father and grandfather busy from sunup to sundown. As milk is collected from each cow, it goes into a stainless steel container called a Sputnik, like the Russian satellite. Milk as it comes from the cow is warm and must be transferred quickly to a refrigerated storage tank or it will spoil. Most of the cooling and storage equipment on a modern dairy farm is run by electricity. If the power should fail, the entire day's output of milk might be lost. After milking, the cows return to pasture, and cleanup begins in the barn and milk house. Each piece of milking equipment must be clean and ready for use again next morning. Finally, time for supper. Few men in business work as hard as the dairy farmer, for even at the end of the day, there are chores to do. Like every businessman, Lawrence Hartman has paperwork, bills to pay, and books to keep. He keeps a record of the birth, illness, and production of every cow, notations on the yield and cost of each crop, along with the income from the sale of his milk. In spite of long hours, hard work, and many problems, the Hartmans are satisfied with their way of life. A few years ago, Lawrence Hartman considered leaving the farm to try a new career, but in the end, he stayed to carry on the family farm and the work that provides his family with a comfortable living. Bedtime? Brian's ready, but not his dad. There are few moments in the day that a dairy farmer can call his own. Even at night, there is usually some detail that requires attention. The slightest sign of illness in the herd must be carefully watched, for the health of a cow affects its output of milk and, in turn, the income of the farm. The cows in the Hartman herd represent an investment of thousands of dollars. It is only good business to protect this investment. As the sun rises, the chores of the day begin. Each structure on a dairy farm has a special purpose. Silos store chopped corn and feed. Hay is stored in the barn, and the milk is cooled and stored overnight in the milk house. Here, each morning, transportation to the market begins. The Hartmans sell their milk to processors, who pasteurize it and ship it to markets in the city. Since milk is highly perishable, it must be delivered to food stores quickly. That is why many dairy farms are clustered around large cities, where good highways provide rapid transport to the market. Besides grass and clover in the pasture, dairy cattle eat oats, hay, and corn. To raise these crops, work in the fields goes on throughout the year, except in winter. In the spring, plowing and planting. In summer and fall, cultivating, harvest, and storage. Most dairy farmers reap and thresh oats with a machine called a combine. In one operation, this machine separates the grain from the straw and the chaff. A trip to town is almost a daily event on the Hartman farm. The market town is only a few miles away. Although dairy farms are generally located some distance from urban areas, farm families need many of the same goods and services as city people. Small communities like this serve as shopping centers for farm families. There are stores and facilities similar to those in the city, like the supermarket, where the Hartmans buy their grocery supplies. Yes, even their milk and milk products. In dairy communities, farmers and town merchants depend on each other. When the farmers have little money to spend, local business suffers. Lawrence Hartman often travels to town himself, sometimes for a piece of equipment or to have oats ground at the local mill. This is one of many services available in town. In most dairy communities, you will find feed and grain suppliers, farm equipment dealers, and general supply stores. Here, dairy farmers meet to exchange views on everything from politics to sports, but more often than not, the problems of the dairy business. One problem that concerns most dairymen is growing competition from larger, more efficient mechanized farms. What does this mean to dairymen like Lawrence Hartman? All over the nation, farmers face a common problem: the need to produce more with less labor. To meet this need, some dairy farms have turned to mechanization. This ultra-modern dairy farm is run almost entirely by machinery. In this mechanized milking parlor, one man can milk the entire herd without help. Such farms are still few in number because they require an enormous investment in labor-saving equipment. Milk flows directly from cow to refrigerated storage tank automatically and efficiently. On this farm, even the land is used economically. Pastures are eliminated and the fields are devoted to feed crops instead of grazing. The cows are cared for in a small, well-planned enclosure where machines do most of the work once done by human labor. Some dairymen believe that this type of farm is the answer to the problems of dairymen across the country.
The biggest problem facing the dairy farmer today is the increased costs of operation. I today milk 88 cows and feed 88 cows and take care of 88 cows by myself through mechanization. The farmer, or dairy farmer, that doesn't change his operation and stays with the old methods, I don't think, myself, will be milking cows in the future for profit. The only person or anybody in the world that can operate a dairy farm without mechanization is the man that does it for a hobby. Today, the dairy industry, the dairy farm, is big business and must be operated as big business.
All dairy farmers share the common problem of holding down costs by working more efficiently. But Lawrence Hartman is equally devoted to his way of dairying.
Well, we're faced with the same problems of increasing costs, the need for greater efficiency, just like anyone else in the dairy industry. Now, automation may help in some areas to increase production per man. However, we find that automation is not the absolute remedy. We find here that we cannot separate the human element from our operation. Each cow is such an individual, she needs individual and separate attention. And by giving her this special attention, we're able to increase our production per cow and thereby improve our efficiency. We feel that the family farm is as much a way of life as it is a business. And as long as we can maintain this way of life, the family farm will never become obsolete.
Although their views on dairy farming differ, Lawrence Hartman and his neighbor face a problem that is common to farmers of every kind throughout the country. Scientific methods and mechanization have made our farms so productive that today fewer farmers are needed to produce the nation's food products. This abundance in farm production threatens the farmer with lower prices for his produce. Yet the costs of operating a farm are constantly rising. As a result, only the most efficient farmers can survive. No one can predict the future of the family farm. Yet one thing is certain: the working methods and the way of life of people in farming communities everywhere is rapidly changing. This is part of a revolution that affects us all. A revolution in production that is contributing much to our changing way of life.
Don't look up factory farming and dairy farms nowadays. I do not recommend it. Hi. You know, sometimes I'm like, well, should I just do the show sitting down? But then I realize, like, I like to move around in my chair and it'll squeak a lot, so it's not gonna happen. So what do you think about the tobacco problem? Let's see.
Uh, 1969, you yourself said, if knowing the consequences, they, meaning the consumers, choose to continue to smoke, they're entitled to do so. Is that right?
Yes, I have not advocated that there be any total prohibition.
You just want to prevent them from smoking cigarettes with tar above a certain level.
I want to protect them as far as possible in that regard and
From
to educate
themselves.
From themselves, and
Yes.
to educate them as to what will be the results.
These consumers you protect choose to consume something you don't want them to consume, you'll make a law against it. Is that right?
I need you, Myrna.
Victor.
Myrna.
But what about the children?
Oh, Myrna, you know that I'm leaving tomorrow. And after that...
Oh, I need a cigarette.
Yes.
I need a cigarette.
Yes.
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 Yes, yes.
There is, in fact, no safe cigarette. If the cigarettes industry's economic power were as minuscule as that of the marijuana industry, cigarettes would surely be illegal now.
I didn't inhale. But then that's the time when everybody says, you know, you should. And that you have to be cool to smoke cigarettes. And then you don't want to make a big fuss and then cough and make so like you've never done it before, so you don't inhale.
technician is staining a microscope slide with cigarette smoke. In order to see anything of interest, it's necessary to examine the slide at a magnification of at least 1,000. The rust-colored areas are tobacco tars, and these are bits of unburned leaf. Other slides frequently show pieces of paper and even animal hairs. In many respects, cigarette smoke is rather like highly concentrated smog. They contain certain gases in common, such as carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, and hydrogen cyanide. Additionally, at least 15 substances have been isolated in cigarette smoke that definitely cause cancer in test animals. This is a microscopic section of a human lung. The little particles are being carried along in a river of mucus. These hair-like cells are called cilia. They vibrate rapidly and force the mucus to carry harmful particles out of the lungs. These rotating cells lie on top of some cilia. They will be a gauge of how fast the cilia move. When a small amount of cigarette smoke is dissolved in the mucus, the cilia begin slowing down. Cigarette smoke is gradually paralyzing the cilia. Once the cilia have been paralyzed, particles in the smoke can enter the lung tissue and bloodstream. In the Orchard Park labs, nearly 10,000 white mice are treated with tobacco tar every day. The purpose of the experiment is to try to develop strains of tobacco which are less harmful than those being marketed now. It is thought that eventually they may be able to reduce the cancer-causing potential of tobacco by about 20%. Meanwhile, the mice continue developing cancers.
These mice have been on experiment for about 10 months. They have developed a number of tumors. Usually the tumors start out as relatively small, benign lesions. Some of them, however, become large, malignant cancers that will eventually go on to kill the mouse. Now, as long as the tumor is growing only on the skin, it doesn't cause the mouse any particular distress, but when the tumor begins to spread into other organs, ultimately the mouse will die. In this mouse, you see a small tumor, which is benign at this point, and a large cancer. Now, these tumors are produced in about 25% of all of the mice that we place on experiment with cigarette smoke.
This cell is cancerous. It is dividing into 3 parts rather than 2 at far too rapid a rate. It's this sort of uncontrolled division that results in tumors on the mice. We are presently in somewhat of an epidemic of lung cancer. In 1914, just 371 people died of the disease. Then, during the First World War, the Army began giving free cigarettes to the soldiers. The habit quickly caught on, and by 1970, some 60,000 people were dying annually from lung cancer. The nicotine in a cigarette has several immediate effects. Because it's a stimulant, it speeds up the heart. One cigarette can speed up the heart by as much as 21 beats per minute. At the same time, the blood vessels are growing smaller. They are constricting. This makes the work of the heart more difficult. Meanwhile, inside the lungs, cigarette smoke is causing the tiny air sacs to disintegrate. The air sacs are surrounded by blood vessels, and as they disintegrate, the heart must work harder still to circulate blood through what remains of the lungs.
A number of years ago, we studied coronary artery disease in relationship to cigarette smoking. Coronary artery disease is a hardening of the arteries. In the normal human being who does not have coronary artery disease, his coronary arteries are wide and there are no plaques or yellow streaks along the vessel wall. However, when he does develop coronary arteriosclerosis, there are yellow streaks along the entire course, and along with those yellow streaks, there are deposits of calcium. We found that severe coronary artery disease was 3 times as frequent in the heavy cigarette smoker as in the non-smoker.
It may be interesting to see how some of the medical evidence is collected relative to cigarette smoking and disease. This is a human lung, one of thousands studied at the Veterans Hospital in East Orange, New Jersey. The purpose of these experiments is to study the association of smoking and emphysema, which is a slow disintegration of the lungs. Evidently, there is a causal relationship between emphysema and some substances in tobacco smoke. Lungs from people who died of all causes are examined in this research lab. They have found that about 1 out of every 4 lungs has signs of emphysema. After the lungs have been sliced and evaluated, they are compared with the medical records of the person. It is no surprise that the vast majority of emphysema victims were smokers.
Well, we have here a graded and laminated sections of lung slices. And here you can see a normal lung slice with the parenchyma intact and the air sacs are not destroyed. And here you see a smoker's lung slice with the air sacs completely destroyed. There are actually holes, you can see right through them.
Could you tell me how frequent is this condition?
Well, this study here, this room, contains 8,000 slices, approximately 8,000 slices, and which represents about 2,000 patients. And you can pick any one of these books out, any one at random, and you can thumb through it, and you'd see many pages of slices with emphysema. You just come through all these books and get another one.
This is a typical clean lung. There are no signs of cigarette smoking or extended exposure to air pollution. Compare it with this lung. A few holes have appeared, and we see signs of bronchitis. Bronchitis often signals the beginning of emphysema. Statistically, the chances are that this person was a light smoker or had just recently begun smoking. The lungs of heavier smokers are riddled with holes. Emphysema can clearly be seen here.
Well, with due respect, I was going to ask what the senator planned to do about high-tar cigarettes that come over the border, say, from Mexico, after he has carefully limited the production of such cigarettes in the United States. Are we going to have camel runners replacing the rum runners of the 1920s? Now, come on, this is a practical and a serious problem. You know that very
certainly
well.
it's practical.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
Why do you want to make it humorous by talking about camel runners?
Let's make it just as serious as you want to make it and answer. No, you answer that one, Senator.
I will not answer that until
not?
I've got a chance to answer your first question on Mexico.
Go ahead.
Any product coming into this country can be required to conform to any standard that we set in this country.
So you're going to have bootleggers?
Will you let me answer the question? If we set a standard for our own tobacco industry, certainly we will set it for all import.
Back to prohibition. Right?
I don't know. This may get to some people, but I feel that all smokers are weak in character, that they're using... I'm sorry, I know. That seems mean. But I don't know. I don't know of anybody that smokes that I could call strong. I don't know. It seems like they're using it to escape in some way or another.
When you picked up the cigarette, right, all of a sudden you started acting, here I am, Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Cool. Yet when you didn't have a cigarette in your hand...
I put it down and act, Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Cool.
Well, you can fake it too, Dave. But, I mean, actually there was a noticeable difference in your personality. You just started acting, well, you know, here I am, Joe Cool, you know.
You want me to put it out and act Joe Cool?
No,
but still.
I mean,
you
it's
know,
giving you the big step.
Yeah.
That's what you say. I say you guys have a crutch that you don't smoke, and that's why you're all Big Shot, Mr. Cool. How's that?
Why? Because we can stand on our own 2 feet.
I can stand on my own
do
2
our
feet.
own problems without holding a cigarette.
Yeah, it helps me get my mind off my whatever my problem is.
Why can't you do something else more constructive instead
Like
of
what?
doing that?
Like what? What is there to do? Chew gum and rot
you
your
can
teeth.
do something with your own hands.
Drink? I like it. Be merry. That's what I was doing.
No,
I was doing
but-
something with my hand. What happens if I like it? What's wrong with that?
Well, what about your friends? I mean, would they influence you at all? I mean, if they couldn't stand smoking, would you stop at all?
Maybe around them, just so I wouldn't lose friends, but...
You want to be someone and be known, kind of. And like cigarettes become the way. And like you think you can be Mr. Big, smoking a cigarette. And like you hear about it usually in 7th grade. And then 8th and 9th, the pressure comes on. And you kind of decide. And usually around senior high, you kind of grow up and see that they're no good.
And the people that are smokers have just, their lungs are just filled with holes. It doesn't take much intelligence to, you know, to say, well...
Do they ever show any people up there that don't smoke that have holes in their lungs? How do you know that there are people that don't smoke that have lots of holes in their lungs?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
This is the only film I've ever seen that really made me never want to smoke again.
Yeah.
Because I never knew anything about like those lung slices and everything, and that, you know, that's really shocking.
Well,
It's only
use
film.
some facts. That's what gets people, you
And
know.
seeing those mice, too. Seeing the mice with the cancerous tumors on them, and you're just sitting there going, that could be me, you know?
You see it, you don't like it, but, you know, as long as you don't have to see it. This is the first really gross movie I've ever seen. You know, they show this little heart going pumping away, and there's a lot of people you show that to, and they'd leave it wrong, you know.
Lots of times you just hear this. They always talk about like the holes in your lungs and everything, but you know, I've never seen them before.
And they use big terms.
I completely disagree with you. I think, you know, like if a guy has cigarette smoke on his breath, it smells good. I like it. I like, you know, if I go into the bathroom, you know, if you go into the bathroom, girls' bathroom in school for 1 minute, you know, it's saturated with smoke.
I can check that gear in a minute, so don't touch anything, okay? Hey! Get down from there! Now! Hey! Turn it over! What if it bumped that control by accident? You'd be mincemeat by now. What have I told you? You don't work on equipment when the engine's running.
Well, I told him not to touch anything. All right, I guess I wasn't thinking.
You weren't thinking? You mean you'll work on engines and machinery and not think of your own personal safety? Here. Shake hands with danger.
Shake hands with danger. Meet a man you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety. Now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. I was young and feisty, never did things by the book. Just let me get my toolbox and I'll take myself a look. I climbed up on a dozier with my mechanic's pride. Said, you can keep it running, friend, while I poke around inside. Shake hands with danger, meet a guy you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety, now they they call me Three-Fingered Joe. Although I learned a lesson, I forgot it soon enough. The nicks and burns and scratches showed the young ones I was tough. Till another morning I was grinding on some steel. My other hand got careless and fed my skin into the wheel. Shake hands with danger, step right up and say hello. Grinding wheels and metal are what made me Three-Fingered Joe. I've seen mechanics burning, and I've seen them take a fall just to save themselves a minute. I've seen them lose it all. I've watched them courting trouble, seen them take a chance and lose. They get careless for a moment and spend a lifetime with the blues. Shake hands with some friends I used to know. Compared to them, I'm lucky to be just Three-Fingered Joe.
It was a stretch showing that, but yeah, I felt like you needed something. We showed films about divorce and about tobacco and all these diseased lungs. Although I love, at the end, the 70s teenagers talking about tobacco and about being cool. Very much like when they turn it to the teenagers to talk about it. And I was hoping, because I was like, wow, it's all just adults talking. Like, at some point, you know, what do you think should be kids or teenagers? So I was not disappointed. Thanks for tuning in today. If you like what you saw, you can hit the thumbs up button, the like button, hit the subscribe bell. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks and buy us some delicious coffee. Also go to patreon.com/avgeeks. And that money will go towards helping us buy some new reels, some tape, some film leader, stuff like that. And eventually some new shelving, because that's what we're working on. Also, you can use the super thanks button. That's another way to say thank you. But, you know, just you being there, tuning in, we very much appreciate that. And you can also watch other videos that we have online on YouTube. Those also give us pennies every time somebody watches them. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll be back tomorrow. Everybody take care. We'll see you soon.